April 22, 2025, a day that would scar the memory of Pahalgam forever. Known as the mini Switzerland of India, this idyllic meadow in Jammu and Kashmir had always been a symbol of serenity, drawing tourists from across the subcontinent. But on this quiet spring morning, a group of 5 heavily armed militants, disguised as shepherds, emerged from the surrounding forests and unleashed a sudden and brutal assault. Armed with M4 carbines, AK-47 rifles and grenades, the attacker targeted groups of Hindu tourists enjoying the Basairan Trail. According to eyewitnesses, the militants approached in close range and began executing people indiscriminately. Yet some survivors later recalled that Muslim tourists and locals were largely spared, hinting at a deliberate sectarian motive. Among the slain was a young Muslim pony handler too, 19-year-old Adil, who died trying to shield a child from gunfire. His bravery stood in contrast to the senseless violence surrounding him. In total, 26 lives were lost, 25 tourists, all civilians and 1 local. Dozens more were wounded. Many of the victims were families on holidays, unaware that they were walking into one of the deadliest terrorist incidents in Kashmir's recent history. The attack lasted just under 15 minutes, short but devastating. When security forces finally arrived, the assailants had already vanished into the surrounding woods, suggesting they had both knowledge of the terrain and possible support from across the border. Within hours of the incident, Indian authorities linked the attackers to Lashkar-e-Taiba, a proscribed terror outfit long accused of carrying out attacks with external support. As security forces combed the region, a larger question loomed: was this an isolated incident or the spark of something far more dangerous? As the echoes of gunfire faded, chaos gripped Pahalgam. Tourists ran frantically downhill, many injured and bloodied, carrying children, helping elderly parents. A scene of panic amidst paradise. The first to respond to the incident were not the army or police, but the local Kashmiri residents. Within 20 minutes, the Indian Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police launched Operation Baisaran Sweep. Evacuation helicopters hovered overhead, elite commandos and tracker dogs were deployed to chase the fleeing terrorists. Roadblocks sealed off exit routes leading toward Anantnag and the forest-littered valley. The security officials indicated that the terrorists had likely crossed into the region from Pakistan-administered Kashmir through the Pir Panjal Road, a known infiltration corridor. If verified, this would mark the first successful large-scale infiltration and civilian massacre in the region since 2019. As the night fell, India mourned. Vigils lit up across the nation, from Mumbai's Gateway of India to Kolkata's Eden Gardens. Hashtags like Pahalgam Massacre and Justice for Tourists trended online. News channels ran top non-stop coverage and emotions soared. The Indian Prime Minister, in a short but firm address, vowed swift justice. "We will not forget, we will not forgive, the nation stands united." Simultaneously, Pakistan's Foreign Ministry issued a statement condemning the attack and denying any involvement, calling it a tragedy and cautioning against hasty conclusions. Within 24 hours of the Pahalgam massacre, India's diplomatic channels ignited. New Delhi summoned the Pakistani High Commissioner, delivering a formal démarque, a sharp protest note accusing Islamabad of sheltering and enabling terror outfits like Lashkar-e-Taiba, believed to be behind the attack. India also presented preliminary evidence, intercepted communications, movement across the line of control, and familiar attack patterns resembling past LET operations. Addressing this event, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs didn't mince words. Islamabad responded swiftly, rejecting the allegations as baseless and politically motivated. Pakistan condemned the attack, called for an impartial investigation, and accused India of exploiting tragedy for regional brinkmanship. The international community watched closely. The United Nations condemned the violence and urged restraint. The US State Department expressed concerns over regional stability. China, Pakistan's key ally, called for dialogue and de-escalation. Behind closed doors, however, India was already pressuring global allies to isolate Pakistan diplomatically. Meanwhile, social media inflamed emotions, hashtags like Surgical Strike 2, Enough is Enough, and terror state began to trend in India. the public discourse was now demanding retribution, not restraint. As the diplomatic standoff deepened, a second battle brewed, not on the borders but in war rooms. New Delhi was now weighing a critical decision. Should it respond with force, as it had after Pulwama in 2019, or choose to restrain in hopes of avoiding escalation? Sources within the India's security establishment confirmed that several military response options were under review. Limited precision airstrikes on known terror camps across the LOC, covert surgical ground raids, cyber disruption of communication networks in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, a full troop mobilization in the event of retaliation. But the risks were greater this time. Both nations had grown more volatile and more nuclear. India and Pakistan are two of the world's 9 nuclear-armed nations. India, with a declared no first use policy, holds a formidable triad: land-based missiles, aircrafts, and submarine-launched nukes. Pakistan, however, maintains ambiguity, and its military doctrine allows tactical nuclear response to conventional Indian military incursions. This fragile equation creates a chilling paradox. Any miscalculation, even from a surgical strike, could spiral beyond control. Inside both countries, nationalist sentiment surged. In India, cries for retribution echoed in every town square. In Pakistan, the sentiment hardened into defiance: "We are ready if India dares." But behind the public posturing, quiet diplomacy began. The United States, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates opened back channels with both governments, urging caution. China warned of unpredictable consequences, and the Indian leadership, aware of the geopolitical and human cost, paused. In the face of rising tensions, both India and Pakistan stood at the brink, staring into an abyss they knew neither could survive. Yet, in that moment, restraint won. Behind closed doors, cooler heads in both capitals recognized that a single misstep could erase entire cities. The cost of pride was too high, the cost of war irreversible. The international mediators pushed for dialogue, intelligence agencies warned of red lines, domestic voices, veterans, economists, parents all pleaded not again, and so the world stepped back from the ledge. Pahalgam was a tragedy, but it became something more, a stark reminder that peace is not weakness, it's survival, it's strength. In the face of adversity, the resilience of communities and the pursuit of peace remain paramount. The choices made by India and Pakistan in the aftermath of this tragedy will shape the future of the region and the world. The Pahalgam attack shook a region already fragile. Lives were lost, hearts broken, and nation pushed to the edge. But from the ashes rose a critical truth. When nuclear nations feud, the margin for error disappears. India and Pakistan have a choice: to remain prisoners of the past or to forge a future where tragedies don't spiral into annihilation. Diplomacy, however, slow or flawed, remains the only weapon stronger than war. To summarize, peace may not make headlines, but in a world armed with extinction, it's the only path that leaves a future behind.